Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives, and welcome Hervoye Morić, our good friend, for another conversation. We go for about an hour from 11 to noon on the East Coast once a month, and boy, it's always exciting to talk to you, Hervoye, and a lot of great stuff going on. A lot of bad stuff going on too. But after yesterday, I have to admit I'm very optimistic. I watched some of his signings on the video there where he's signing this and signing that. And it made me laugh today because, being from Washington, D.C., the city just almost runs on federal buildings and federal contractors and whatever. And for him to say, sign his piece of paper, says, working at home is coming to a screeching halt. Everybody back to the office. Boom. I just had to laugh. I said, "Oh my God, that is a watershed. That is a change that will benefit the city because they'll get a lot more people going to restaurants at lunch and going to parking garages, and it's going to be bad for traffic. It's going to be bad for the commuters because they'll have to fight their way in again, like I used to do when I worked in D.C. for 15 years. So that commute is coming back. Traffic jams are coming back, but hopefully the tone of the federal workforce will change and people will get to know each other again and brainstorm and get problems solved and at the same time save their asses from getting cut by the Doge. So anyway, that was the first thing that hit me today was, wow, that's a big change, but the other changes are far more important to the country and to the J6 prisoners and to their wives and families that have been waiting so long. It's a momentous day. Well, welcome. And where should we start with your analysis, Hervoye Morić?
Continue with what you were saying. I think, I'm quite skeptical on Trump 2.0 because of the background globalism and the technocracy waiting in the wings. But like kind of as you say, I was tracking some of this stuff yesterday and it was impressive. There was this like sort of burst, again, what everyone thinks, it just feels like there was this burst of fresh air. You mentioned virtually all J6, as far as I understand, prisoners are freed. 15 Julie Kelly, who I follow in X, said, yeah, it's like done. 1,500 were let go, and then there were like 2 cases remaining that are going to be canceled. The WHO,
wow.
Again, it's not clear. One of my listeners said he just talked about his intention. It's a process. So I don't know. Are we getting out of the WHO? We do have to remember that a lot of these similar things happened during Trump 1.0, where things were said, but they were never followed through. I mean, that's default with politicians, right? So we have to keep that in the back of our mind. He might like sign, okay, we're going to start the process of getting out of WHO, but bird flu 2.0 pandemic, something comes out of left field to stop that process. I was looking at a further list of what he was talking about. For me, it's interesting, the cartels, right? So it says he declared Mexican cartels to be foreign terror organizations, and he was asked if he'd send U.S. Special Forces to Mexico to take them out. Could happen. Stranger things have happened. Some of my Mexican friends were saying they wouldn't mind, actually. And honestly, for myself at this point, I wouldn't mind because the cartels have se pasaron, as we say in Spanish. Like, it's one thing you're trafficking drugs, but now when you're extorting avocado growers, lime growers, just an average farmer, you're shaking down cleaning ladies, like businesses, hijacking 50 trucks a day. It's like, guys, seriously, you're out of control. So yeah, we'll see. It's only day 1, day 2, right? So I don't know.
Well, I want to get to Ukraine real quick, but before I go there, just domestically, the idea of shutting down the border and cleaning up the drug trade, the gang-led drug trade. That to me, it's like manna from heaven. It just lifts my soul. It's like wow, somebody's going to stop, at least try to stop this horrible infestation of our country with highly addictive drugs that just take people out of society and put them down on the sidewalk acting stupid until they, it's got to stop. And it is one of the ways that the spooks have financed their dirty deeds for, for our lifetimes, Herboye. It's got to stop. And how in the hell Trump has the mojo or the muscle or whatever he's got to make it stop, it's unbelievable. But another thing, for some reason I've been looking at little clips from The Godfather a lot lately. I kind of get hooked on these reels on Facebook to just to confess. Don't get hooked on these things. It fries your brain, guys. But watching a little bit of Godfather, and I'm thinking, Trump, he's like a godfather, man. He's like, I'm laying down the law. And I never thought I'd say it, but I think based on what I see in our country and what you see in Mexico and around the world, we do need a tough cop, at least for a while, to clean it up. At least, gosh, if we can shut down that damn infiltration with the terrorist drug networks and all the other stuff that they network. Well, it's hard to believe, but I'm hopeful.
I read that they canceled, they shut the CBP app, the app that illegal migrants could use to schedule, illegal migrants, well, whatever, illegal aliens could use this app to become legal. That was shut off. And speaking of Mexico, this I'm sitting, I laugh at these stories. So this was published yesterday. It says about where I am here in the suburbs of Guadalajara, where I am. It says a mass grave discovered last December in a suburb of Guadalajara. That's me. With dozens of bags of dismembered body parts contained the remains of 24 people, Mexican authorities said. 6 of them, a woman and 5 men, have been identified. They were reported missing between 2021 and 2023. And I tell people, if you're ever passing through town, stop by for some coffee or tequila and some lamb chops, except be careful, you might become the chops. So yeah, it's absolutely insane here in Mexico. And but anyways, getting back to your point about the US, I also want to caution, though, this is the honeymoon phase. And we've been through this, John, a million times. Every 4 years, someone comes in and you have this honeymoon phase of like, yeah.
Well, Obama was going to shut down Gitmo in his first 100 days.
That's what I'm saying.
I was an Obama guy. I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I really was. I was very committed to Obama. And I don't think it took more than 6 months for me to be disillusioned. But
so give us some time with Trump. A few weeks, months, we'll see.
Well, that's what I thought we'd kind of focus on today is his first 100 days and what does he expect to accomplish other than renaming the Gulf of Mexico? Anything substantive that he can do? Well, bringing the workers back, that's good. That's procedural, though. I mean, in terms of maybe confronting Congress with some challenging legislation or what do you think he will try to accomplish, and what do you think he can accomplish?
I was reading stuff about he's going against the censorship. He may have signed something, right? No more censorship. But I'm thinking, one of my concerns is you're hearing all this talk about Bitcoin and crypto. This morning I saw the Coinbase CEO, yeah, Brian Armstrong, predicting Bitcoin will get into the millions, multiple millions price range. I do not understand this for the life of me. For me, this just screams tulip mania. Like, whenever in the history of the world has there been any asset that's worth multiple millions? Like what we're witnessing. Like the only time I feel we've seen anything like this is Tulip Mania. Like, how can this digital token be worth, there's a million, it's hundreds of thousands, it's millions? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So there's something going on here. Either it's just a pump and dump scam, or it's going to be used as the roots to bring in the CBDC. My fear, kind of going back to Trump, is they're talking about for more and more privatization, and it's almost like they're bringing in the social credit, the Chinese state-backed social credit system, to America, all through the private sphere, right? And like it's basically a private CBDC version. And so that's sort of my fear. You'll see all this, like these cool things with Musk, and Bezos was at that was quite a photo. I don't know if you saw inauguration, to see all those people there: Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, Musk, RFK Jr. standing in the background, the guy from Google, I can't remember his name. That was pretty, but that's telling, though. This is like, I mean, we have to be fair. This is like it's a technocratic administration. It's an oligarch administration, with all those guys in the background. You can't deny that.
Well, I think, our good friend Harley Schlanger, a week ago, we were talking about this, and I was saying, this is just technocracy from a different angle. It's, it's their technocracy versus Elon's technocracy, and Elon's technocracy wins the race, but they are still going to build, and they are building out as fast as they can, this technocratic panopticon that I keep talking about. And everybody seems to be, yeah, they're probably going to do it, but still just sleepwalking through it as the walls are built around us technologically. And yet, Harley says, it's like anything else. It's a tool, and it can be used for good, and it can be used for evil. And we have now a huge population that is expecting Trump to do things for good. And if the combination of having all that technological power and these these satellites, and who knows what's in the Space Force, for gosh sake, gives him a lever that he can employ to cause the bad guys to shut down their acts and allow America to become great again, to flourish with new production and an internal sense of sovereignty and positive futures that he's trying to inspire in all of us. Who's to say that we all have to be pessimistic all the time? There's a lot of people out there, and most of them, are very well armed, in the American population, that if Trump decided, well, guess what, I'm going to go back with the New World Order, and we're going to impose the jabs, and everything's going to be just like Biden, only worse. I think that, there's a huge population that is not intimidated if they get betrayed. So there's a lot of momentum for good things to happen. And I'm going to stay optimistic, at least today, January 21st, 2025.
Well, I don't think they would ever use the same playbook. So if he was ever, and again, it's not just, I mean, it's a one man in a sea of people, right? It's this big machine. So to think like Trump is some godlike figure that can manage, I was just thinking as he was signing stuff yesterday, it's like, he's not thinking, half of these things or more, he's not even thinking about them or preparing them. They're prepared by groups of people and brought to him to sign, right? And maybe he's briefed on them, but I don't think he's like, let's do this, go do this for me. There's like a team. This stuff has been gestating, worked on for a long time. And just to go back to China for a moment, I posted something, from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, right? That's one of those like NATO-linked globalist think tanks, right? Atlantic Council Foundation for Defense of Democracies. But
Yes.
They wrote something this a week ago, called Biotech Battlefield, Weaponizing Innovation in the Age of Genomics. And essentially, I quoted them. They said, quote, to counter these threats from China, The U.S. must integrate biotech into its broader defense and emerging tech strategies, recognizing the critical intersection of biosecurity, AI, advanced computing. Biosecurity should become a strategic priority, blah, blah, blah. And, I basically said, I see how this works. China's biotechnology schemes are evil and bad and a threat to our security. We must do what they're doing, but even better. We must become a monster to stop a monster. Gattaca, here we come. So it's kind of like, they're like, that's the method that the American empire uses. They're like, oh, Chinese social credit system, bad. But we got to do the same thing to defeat them, right? It's like, or they're messing with the, biosecurity, gene editing stuff, bad. So that we got to do the same thing, but even you see how that formula works? They're always, it's always the same. WMDs. This guy's got dummy. We got to build more nukes and warheads, and so I feel like that's always a strategy that they use. But yeah, I'm just not as optimistic as you. I'll take the thing with the cartels. If
Well, wait a minute.
I'll be happy.
Let's stay with biosecurity for a moment. Because this has been a huge part of my work for the past year or so when I first encountered Adam Finnegan's book, The Sleeper Agent. And I really am convinced that once people understand the background that is hidden from us in strategic biological warfare, that means using pathogens that cause things like Lyme disease, that make people chronically ill and make their latent viruses come back to life and destroy their lives or just kill them. That leads to cancers that will kill them or other problems such as neurological problems. That all of these things in the sleeper agent are traced back to the biological war efforts of the Nazis, the Soviets, the British, the Americans, the Rockefellers in particular, and people that have been working to learn how to use weapons that they're not battlefield weapons like anthrax that just you spray that and everybody dies. No, these are long-term insidious sleeper weapons that Adam describes so well in his book that I really just hope that folks will use this time this year to study that and with that background, I think we need to see that we do need enhanced biosecurity, but biosecurity intended to support the American people and to help us fight off what already exists in our biosphere, in our bodies, in our nature, in the bugs in the woods and the birds and everything that this insidious effort has caused, so that we can move past the tragedies of the past and somehow clean it up. Now, I see a lot of efforts made to just focus on the COVID pandemic and, to characterize it this way, that way, or the other way. But everything that I hear coming out of Bobby Kennedy and the major talking heads is directed at vaccine safety and the tendency I'm afraid of is that people will say, okay, now we've got safe vaccines, we've fixed the problem, and we don't need to, do any more biosecurity studies because it's all in the past, forget about it. And that's not going to work because the agents that have been circulated in our world are there and they're real, and they're causing chronic debilitating illnesses every day. So that's one of my passions this year, is to help A.W. Finnegan spread the word about immune tolerance and how it's induced and the effects that it has on all of us. It's as I say, I very passionately believe that he's nailed it. So in order to make that effort work, I think we do need an enhanced biosecurity infrastructure.
My only contention on that is, well, if we look at who the big culprit was with this biosecurity Franken madness, with what happened in the 2020s, the quote public health emergency, it was us. It was the American, DARPA, CIA, Fort Detrick, Fauci's, all these, smorgasbord of
Oh,
organizations.
absolutely.
So how
Yeah.
can we then argue to increment their power because of China? It's like they're just finding a flimsy pretext to give themselves even more power. And these were the people who brought us COVID. So it's kind of like,
Well,
whoa,
those people need to go down to Guantanamo and sit waiting for
It's
this.
not going to happen. Fauci was part
no,
of there was a great meme James Lindsay posted. I don't know if you saw. It's about that duck. It's like these two photos of the duck who's chasing after the person, and the first frame says, "What did Fauci do to need a pardon? What did he do?" Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the good thing about pardons is that you can still be compelled to testify, and you can't be pardoned for treason. So I think Trump is talking treason, maybe not about Fauci, but maybe about General Milley. I think he's looking really hard at J6 and going to unpack, the real power behind J6, Joe Biggs, the whole Proud Boys, and the so-called riot or the so-called assault on the Capitol that I think involved a lot of parties that we have not been introduced to yet.
I mean, for me, just going on history, I feel, mostly everything's going to be whitewashed. I mean, when have 9/11, JFK? He said he's going to release JFK stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll see it I'll believe it when I see it. And someone mentioned Tulsi Gabbard in the comments. She just flipped on, what was it, the FISA surveillance? It's like this always happens, where if you want to get close to the ring of power, you're going to have to do a few 180s, right? And so, and we've seen that a bit with RFK Jr., like Tulsi Gabbard, all of these, strong men and women. And then as soon as you orbit close to the ring of power, they start, unchecking some of the things on their list. Not all, but they begin being forced to compromise by this deep state octopus, which is so massive. They're like, look, if you want to be head of the director of intelligence, you're gonna the system of FISA, the whole surveillance thing is too big for any of us to go against. You're either gonna have to be okay with it, or you can't come in. So I don't know.
I think of I was watching a bit of James Corbett yesterday or the day before, and he was talking about getting the brain chips. The Elon Musk Neuralinks. Are you going to face a choice one day when everybody on your block has a brain chip, but you don't? And are you then going to just be left out of all human interaction, all human progress? Everything that happens, you're going to be ignorant of, and the people around you are going to be like living these interesting lives and making incredible things with their computer attachment to all the scientific wonders of the world, and they're going to expand their consciousness, as far as Aldous Huxley could dream. I mean, it's going to be a time when you have to make a decision of whether you want to fight the system or just give in and say, okay, give me the chip. Or do you take a third path? And this is where I think your comment comes from or leads to, and that is, if you want to fight them, you have to be part of it. Because if you're not part of it, you can't see the moving parts to raise your voice, to try to stop things. So it's an interesting dilemma that we're facing or going to face as individuals, and our government really can either allow this to happen to us, or can hopefully make it slow down and stop, because it's coming.
I mean, with the Tulsi example, I can take your point there, but not with the brain chip. Like, that is a bridge too far, and I don't see. I think I'd be having more fun I can't have any more fun than I feel I already can in the analog world. I don't think the plugging in to even the smartphones. I try to find ways to. I was thinking the other day, 1984, George Orwell. I'm going to go back and read 1984 again. I'm getting a Brave New World Revisited. I'm going to revisit that stuff again. And if you think about in 1984, I think it was, they put like a microphone and camera in everyone's room, I think, to monitor them. And I'm like, that's exactly the smartphone. So they didn't do it exactly the way they had visioned. Maybe they had envisioned like physically installing it in our rooms, and they thought, no, that's going to be too difficult. Smartphones. So you just place this device, and it's monitoring your audio. It's got a camera, and then not only in your room, you take it with you when you're mobile outside. And so, we got to fight that. I feel like and they've done it in such a way. They've made it so cheap, so available, with so many cool things on it. It's not like it's more Brave New World. They're not forcing it on you. You're like, you want it more and more. That's my thing with the whole Trump thing, that they work so insidiously. So even if Trump, at the stage where we are with world government, they have to give us nice stuff to get us to that final closing of the fences. So Trump, they have to get Trump to give us a few shiny, nice things that are legit, like maybe ending the cartels, like maybe, as the things you were saying. But my worry is they play a very long game. So they might have Trump lock in some stuff in the coming years that are going to be far worse, so especially related to the digital technocratic stuff, like digital IDs and the private CBDCs, which once that is in place, maybe Trump leaves and then whoever comes in later, we start seeing stuff where you're in the algorithm ghetto. Oh, you didn't get this.
Well, that's right.
Access denied.
Yeah, it is the Chinese social credit system that will come. And, J.D. Vance is the next likely candidate to have the power to do it to us. I agree with your concerns very much.
I was in a group call, I think with one of my paid subscribers, and people were positing. I mean, I think it's a bit out there, but you had Bill Clinton, and then his wife Hillary ran a couple times for president. Someone was saying maybe Ivanka Trump would run, or his daughter, who's married to Jared. That's just an interesting thought experiment, because Trump couldn't run again, but maybe someone from his clan would, or a JD Vance or something. Who knows? Or they might. It's the good cop, bad cop. So after Trump, they might throw in a Democrat again. So.
Well, according to the Democrats, there won't be anything after Trump. It's going to be the end of the.
Well, according to Trump, also, Trump said, remember he said something along the lines of, after me, that's it.
That's right, he did. That was a while ago, though. He's probably more optimistic now. I wanted to get over to Europe and talk about Ukraine and talk about President Putin, because I just saw on my X feed that President Trump says Putin should really take the deal. It's really hurting Russia not to take the deal. Can he strong arm Putin, and will Putin, fold and take the deal? I don't think so. I think Putin's going to say, game on. But that, to me, is the first big test for Trump. He said he's going to solve the Ukraine war. He said he'd solve it before he was inaugurated, if I recall. So is he going to be able to dominate the Russian president and cause everybody to make nice?
I kind of feel Russia is weak in this regard, and so I think there's a chance there may be a deal made between Putin and Trump. And then second, a lot of this stuff just seems too good to be true. And there have been a number of us. I've been talking about this for years now. That it's they call it this sort of new agey golden age, and Trump would come in. It's kind I'm not calling Trump the Antichrist, but I'm just saying it's almost like an Antichrist like system or figure where he comes in and he's doing all these wow marvelous things, you know, legalizing crypto, stopping the cartels, securing the border, ending the wars, and then you just step back and you're like, I mean, this is kind of sounds like something out of the Bible, right? He's making peace, he's solving all of the world's problems. I'm like, that is kind of a bit odd, you gotta say. And so um I just feel like that is the trend we'll probably see with Trump. And yeah, I mean, Putin came out and he made a statement and he seemed more positive with Trump now in power. And so there's a possibility there. Yeah. And then, there's probably have him work on the third temple in Israel. Reza Pahlavi, right? The Shah of Iran in exile. Here, did you see he wrote a letter talking about Cyrus Accords now? He wrote a letter to Trump. And so
I forgot what the Cyrus Accords are. Remind me.
I don't remember either, but
Oh,
it's again, it's this guy, he's the son of the
the son of
late.
the son of the Shah that the
I have the letter here. He
Iranian
says,
Revolution overthrew in what 78, I think.
I guess I'm reading from the letter from Reza Pahlavi sent yesterday to Trump. He said, you have the opportunity to go beyond the groundbreaking Abraham Accords by helping to facilitate the Cyrus Accords, uniting Israel, Arab nations, and a free Iran. You can transform the Middle East and the world. That kind of goes back again to what I was saying. To unify Israel, the Arab countries, and Iran. Like the Bible talks about somebody coming along and making peace where, it was impossible to make peace.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, once that peace is made, all hell breaks loose.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So this is, I just think something. I don't portend to. I just sit back and observe. I never say, this person is that figure from prophecy, but I'm just saying you're beginning to see patterns, rhymes, and things that are unprecedented, right? To unify Israel and Iran and the Gulf countries. Just the mere talk of this, and now with someone like Trump at the helm, with the possibility to actually move forward with something like this. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I think it's gonna be a crazy ride. And yeah, I think there is a chance for Trump to deal with Ukraine. We'll see.
I'm interested. Why do you think Russia is weak? He certainly is talking tough enough.
Well, I interview both sides of the spectrum. I'm more cynical because it's often, they're getting slapped in the face and they don't do anything. Russia, the Lavrovs come out and then the Maria Zakharovas, and they've crossed the red line, and they always, you've seen me talk about that. They return with this rhetoric and nothing happens. And so I think the thing is with Russia, I mean, we saw that with the World Wars, right? Well, I mean, with Napoleon and World War II. Yeah, I just sense Russia is not as strong. I think alternative media hypes Russia up a lot, and that the West is still, they've got their hands on all the levers of power: the Bretton Woods system, IMF, World Bank, NATO.
That's where I think the connection is in the banking system through the German Gref and the Alpha banks, and they're all connected to Rothschild and other deep state institutions. So I think ultimately he has to answer to the financial system that's pervading the whole world. But okay, well, Putin is still a mystery, but promises. Did Trump say? I think he said that he was going to bring peace there. So I do hope he can. Looking at the I'm sorry, Southwest Asia. We're supposed to be calling the Middle East Southwest Asia now because, well, the Middle East is a European oriented term, and the geographical fact is that this is part of Asia. It's the southwest part of Asia. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. It's the Middle East to me, but that's what I hear some people
But they
say.
also say near East or West Asia, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I see this whole Greater Israel project with horror because I want the indigenous people to be free. I want them to have the right to be Muslims if they want to be Muslims, and this is where the real problem is. I noticed it was very, very obvious to me that President Trump said absolutely nothing about Muslim people or the Muslim world, and praised the Judeo-Christian tradition with Billy Graham's Jr. There with a very Christian-oriented prayer. The idea of uniting the world under an American, Pax Americana, which has been the dream of American policymakers for since World War II, that we're going to impose where we need to, but bring everybody into the one world order. That was the subject of a show I did on this book by Thomas P.M. Barnett. It's a 20-year-old book called The Pentagon's New Map, and you might remember it. But his whole thing is that there's certain areas of the world are not part of the
integrating gap.
The integrating gap, and it's interesting that so much of the integrating gap is Muslim, and that's billions of people who are now going to probably be in the front lines of the forever wars between the proxies of Russia and the proxies of China and the proxies of the United States. If that's the way the future is going to unfold, then we're never going to get rid of this military industrial complex. We're never going to get rid of paying all of our tax dollars into buying weapons. And when are we going to ever beat our swords into plowshares?
Well, I mean, this is for me, what you're talking about is never going to happen. It's a metaphysical thing, until Christ returns and the new heaven and new earth, because you said the poor will always be with you, right? There's always going to be wars, because of sin. This will never, ever change until some external force like God comes back and ends, he defeats all of these, defeats Satan and the nations who are managed by Satan from behind the scenes. So I don't think that's ever going to change by our own hand. And what you mentioned about Pax Americana in the world, I haven't commented on this yet, but the FBI, I saw a clip yesterday of FBI Director Kash Patel declaring the American dream does not belong to Americans, but to the whole world at Trump's inauguration. I'm like, Cash, what are you talking about? I'm living the Mexican dream here in Mexico. Like, for him, to have this audacity to say, it's kind of very hubris type of statement. Like, the American dream is not just American, it's the world's dream. Like, we're going to force this down your throat. It's like, no, I left America. I'm happy living the Mexican dream here. Leave me alone. I don't want your American dream. I'm being, tongue in cheek. But also what you were saying about Barnett. Yeah, I've been familiar. I haven't read the book. Is it a good book to read? You think? Is it interesting?
Oh, well, in hindsight, it's absolutely fascinating, but you can do just as well by watching him make a presentation on YouTube. His presentations, 20 years ago, to see it with a hindsight now, it just it unveils the mind of Donald Rumsfeld, is what it does, because this guy is he's working for Rumsfeld, and he's putting together a plan that's going to make Rumsfeld happy and give him promotions and more money. So this is the Rumsfeld version of the future, in which America does go out and become Pax Americana.
Yeah, my reading of that, because I read his articles, maybe I saw, the past 20 years, maybe I read scans of excerpts of that book, or I think I used some of his material in my courses. My reading is that, again, we all know they want one world government. It's got to be a globalized system, one world economy, interconnected political system, and cultural. They want a universal culture and a universal religion, universalist type religion. And so I think part of the reasons they attack certain countries, like the Middle Eastern countries, is because of Islam, where they have to, it's like, a farmer who has tough ground, he has to break the ground to prepare, to seed, to plant the crop. And the part of bombing a lot of Middle Eastern countries, or other such regions, was to kill a mass swath of people, because then the new generation would be raised on smartphones, and through those smartphones they would have fed through them social media, YouTube, Western culture.
Yeah.
Like I saw that in Kazakhstan, where it's very socially conservative, nominally culturally Islamic country, but the youth that I was teaching, it's like there was a huge difference between the adults there now, who are old school, and their children, who have these smart devices for the first time. And through those things, their brains are being pumped with this Western one world globalist satanic stuff. Like, to the extent, there was a story where, not at the school where I work, but another campus, a high school student got the idea to dress up as the other gender.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the adults said, like, admonished the kid, which ultimately committed suicide. And so you kind of see how this is operating. So I think that's part of going back to the integrating gap. They're trying to make all countries safe for this one world government, and all that matters, economically. So if there's any country like that was Syria, that was a holdout, that would not integrate economically, Assad was holding out. We got to get rid of him. And then, yeah. So
I'm 100% with you. I think that's what's going on, and this idea of making a greater Middle East, in which all of the as Islamic countries and Israel are working together. They have a common economy. Well, that's the technological boost that you've just talked about in Kazakhstan is going to do the same magic here. It just reminds me of my own. It's like my own difference between my dad and his generation. He was born in 1920 and grew up in the Depression. And my generation, I was born in the 50s, but during my lifetime, my dad's values just fell away. His values, of course, were saving. Absolutely don't spend a penny that you don't have to spend. Make sure and save every single thing you can save. That was, number one. Number two, don't buy junk. Buy products that are going to last a lifetime. Get the steel one, not the plastic one. Get something good and keep it for a long time. Do the same thing with your cars. Maintain your cars. Do your own maintenance, oil change, and tires and everything. Take responsibility. You're never going to be wealthy enough to not take care of your stuff. And so that whole idea of value has just left our consciousness collectively. To me, I'm like, oh yeah, you get a new iPhone every 4 or 5 years. Well, of course you do. It gets old. This teapot that I use to heat my tea, it burns out every 2 years. I just buy another one. But why do they have to burn out every 2 years? Well, that's how they make money, man.
I was thinking of this the other day, but it's becoming so horrible on all fronts, where we're literally not given a choice anymore. I can't remember the items I was buying or looking at buying, but by and large, literally everything, it's just like, even here in Mexico, like I had them fix something and they broke another thing. I was telling my wife the other day, it's like you call a service person to fix something, they break another thing, and then you got to call a service person to fix the thing that the other guy broke, and then that guy breaks another thing, and you got to call another guy. It just never ends. And so whether it's repairmen or stuff that you buy, we're looking at cars. I'm gonna hold on to my old my used car, but even like new cars, I was looking like touching the front end of the car, and it was just like flimsy plastic. It was a Mazda, and it's like plastic, like you're touching it, and I don't know. It's so sad how this these capitalists, how greedy everyone has become, and you can't buy a quality product anymore, and it's greed. I mean, but it's getting so bad, John. Like you can't. At least back in the day, you could buy steel items that last forever. And now, literally anything you buy is going to last 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you got to buy it again.
Yeah. Ultimately, you will own nothing and you will be happy because, hey, yeah, I'll just get another one. Why own it when it's going to disintegrate in 2 years? Just have a contract with Klaus Schwab's favorite company and say, just send me a new one every 2 years. Forget about it. I'll throw the old one away, and I don't have to worry about owning it. Just rent it.
I mean, I just recalled the latest example. I think it was 5 years ago. I bought a German, one of those, the Karcher, I think is the brand, is those yellow vacuum cleaners from German made. And it's like been not even 5 years. I think it's been 4.5. And the thing is already, parts of it are falling apart. And I'm just thinking, like literally from my vacuum cleaner to my car to whatever other device.
Yeah.
Guys.
And may I add to that, Dyson. Oh my God. We've had like 3 Dysons, the handheld vacuums, and a nice, I mean, they're beautiful, you see everything spinning and everything, but it's all plastic and it doesn't last. Very, very interesting time to be projecting forward into the next couple of months, 3 months. I am thinking Trump's going to be able to cause peace in Ukraine. I think he really wants to have a big signature item at the beginning of his term, and he's certainly not going to be able to forge some overall Middle East or Southwest Asia peace plan in that short time. So that's my bet. He's going to try to accomplish a peace plan in Ukraine, and if he needs to twist arms, he's probably got the leverage over Putin. As you indicate, I think Putin is also as strong as his army has been. When they fire off all their missiles, they're out of missiles. They got to go buy some more missiles, and that's not good. There's not a lot of depth left in the Russian army, and I think that both sides are cracking so much that they may just say, okay, all right, let's let Trump do it.
Well, I mean, just another example. Yesterday, I saw Lex Friedman, right, the famed podcaster who recently interviewed Zelensky for 3 hours. I didn't bother watching that. And now Friedman was speaking against Zelensky and, pro-Trump and pro-Putin in terms of making peace. Again, it's kind of odd to see a whole swath of, cultural commentators just line up right behind Trump, and so all of big tech, the Bezos, Lex Friedman, Putin. It's kind of odd that my point is this is almost unprecedented. So I feel like this is not normal where we are. So it's strange supernatural stuff going on, I think. And yeah, we're just gonna enjoy the ride. I mean, what else can we do? Get the popcorn, enjoy the show.
They all sitting there in a row. You're absolutely right. It's one of the most extraordinary images from the inauguration, because you represent there, the 4 or 5 richest, wealthiest people on paper on the planet. And I don't think they came there because they control Trump. I think they came there because, well, they want to be part of the ceremony. But I think there's the fact that they were all there together means that Trump has something that gives him some mojo to bring them together. And
Or it might not be Trump. It might be, Trump and these big tech guys might just be at the behest of some other force that we don't in this apparatus. And, all I'm saying is that it's just unnerving for me. I get what you're saying. There's a lot of nice stuff happening.
Yeah.
But there's just something in me that there's just something unnerving. Like there's something I feel like we're not told about. There's some other play maybe down the line or other game. And my thing is, let's just watch out. Be very, discernment, up your discernment level to the maximum. Because, even the Bible says in the last days that even the elect, even Christians who are tuned into this type of stuff, the deception is going to be so massive that even, people who were told beforehand to watch out precisely for this, and it happens and they see it coming, and it's so like crazy that they're even deceived. It's like if someone tells you ahead of time so-and-so is going to happen and you should be on the lookout for it and you miss it, like, because it's so, there's some sort of like the deception is so good. That's all I'm saying. Like, I feel like we cannot let our guards down, and I don't think we're still in the battle. Anything can happen. So,
well, it's the end of the hour, but I was just about to get to invite you into a conversation on Bill Cooper and all of his predictions in what's the book about the white horse.
Behold the pale horse, I think.
Behold a pale horse. Yeah. Well, maybe we can cover that next time. But apocalyptic visions from Hervoye, and going to Mars from her Elon.
Well, I was thinking about the other day, like, we never made it to the moon. How are we going to make it to Mars is my thing. I just, again, I don't see how are we going to get to Mars. I don't see it. There's got to be some psyop there.
I can't figure it out either, but I'll tell you, I have a relative that works at JPL, and he would know. I mean, one day I'm going to ask him, is this real? Is this real, or is this all just CGI? But I've seen enough to think that Elon's rockets are real. Did you see that rocket take off last week?
No, but
oh my God, it was an amazing show. And then when the capsule burst over the Caribbean, and the light show was amazing. That rocket is huge and very impressive, and the fact that he could bring it back and make it go back right into its little holder when the booster was done. I don't think they can fake that. I mean, there's so many angles, there's so much photography, and so many witnesses that we may very well be going to Mars. I don't know why we don't go to the moon first, but there are answers if you want
to. You should get Bart Sibrel on your live stream.
Oh God, no, I can't have Bart Sibrel. my wife believes so much in the Apollo program that she'd be brokenhearted if I put Bart Sibrel on here. But I mean, that's another show. We got to do it. We'll go into the moon landing and Bart Sibrel and his book, and Bill Cooper, and geez, why not even do David Icke while we're at it?
I can't. I'm not a David Icke.
All right. Well,
he makes good commentary on like the secular stuff, but he's full on, anti-Bible, New Age. We are one consciousness.
That's right.
Yeah, no thanks.
No. Okay. No thanks. I'll second you in that. Well, I hope we'll have another pleasant conversation in a month or so, and we'll get some answers from the new administration. And hopefully we'll still be optimistic. Harvoye, thanks for being with us here at McDuff Lives once again. It's always a treat and a pleasure for me.
We'll be grading the Trump 2.0. Always fun to chat. Thanks, John.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon back here on McDuff Lives.